Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where tonight, my friends and I will be playing Mothership. I am your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is called In the Winter of Our Youth. It was written by Llewellyn, who is also our warden for this game. This is episode 1. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Morgan.
Thank you, Thom. We begin on Earth, humanity's cradle, and yet a distant dream for many, a myth even. The vast majority of humanity, scattered as they are across the stars, have never seen Earth, let alone set foot on it. On the 300th floor of the primary tower of the Gaia Research Group complex, overlooking the sprawl that is Neo New York, standing in front of a vast window overlooking the sprawl and the decay that is Earth, Dr. Cynthia Freeman, Senior Vice President of Cybernetics, beckons forth two figures with her in the room to come and look. Gemini 0, Gemini 1. You were born just this morning and are being shown the world. Please step forward.
It is quite complex, is it not?
Yes, most fascinating.
How do you feel, Gemini 0?
I am in working order. My primary systems are fully functional and online. Everything is nominal.
Do you understand your position?
Yes, I have been programmed with high levels of mathematics and physics. I am also quite accomplished in athletics and close combat. I have I'm stammering and I'm not supposed to be. I have astronavigation, physics, and hyperspace technology. I can pilot a ship, any ship that currently exists.
And you, Gemini 1?
Yes. I am operating within standard operating procedures. All seems to be functioning properly and according to programming. I have been programmed in robotics and engineering. I am master in robotics, artificial intelligence, engineering, as well as close combat and improvisation.
And now about your other position in regard to the social strata of reality existence, all of humanity. Do you understand, Gemini 0, your position?
I'm the firstborn son of a new line of computer technology and Android technology. But I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean.
Look out again. What do you see below?
I see the city. I see streets. I see vehicles. I see humans.
Yes.
I'm happy
Yes,
to serve
you
them.
do. Wonderful. Well, In celebration of your birthdays, we have a very special, very delicate assignment for you.
I
We
hope
have
to
been
accomplish
gathering
it for you.
others to join you in this. You have our utmost trust and faith. We expect great things out of you, Gemini Zero.
You can count on us.
Likewise to you, Gemini One. We'll now move away from Earth for a time to a far-flung rock where there's a small cluster of buildings, people scraping by as best they can, out of the way of everybody else. In one of these buildings, we find Dr. Pluto Knox. What are you up to, Dr. Knox?
Enjoying a nice cup of tea, looking out at the clouds, the sun, writing down my thoughts in a journal. I keep to myself. I live alone.
Now you're sitting there with your tea, your thoughts, your paper, your pen. And the stillness of that morning is broken by the roaring sound of engines. As landing just outside, you see a very sleek, you assume to be a very expensive, highly technologically advanced craft land. And stepping out, you see three individuals, two of which are in full battle dress, top of the line military. And between them is a woman in very plain but very sharp, crisp white suit. And they come up and she knocks on your door.
Corporate surveys. When are they going to give up trying to do something on this rock? Yes, yes. I go to the door and open it. Hello, how can I help you?
Dr. Knox, I presume?
Yeah, the very same.
Excellent to meet you. I'm a representative of Gaia Research Group.
Oh, Gaia. Okay. What
May-
brings you out to this remote little rock in the middle of space?
Well, that would be a matter we would like to discuss with you. May we come inside?
Yeah, I don't believe I have enough chairs for all of you, but sure, step inside.
That's fine. These two don't mind standing. And so they come inside, and these two faceless suits flank either side of the door. And she goes and she takes a seat.
Yeah, could I interest you in a cup of tea? What's the meaning of all this?
Well, some tea would be lovely.
All right, great.
And she waits very patiently for you to pour her some.
Mhm. Yep, yep. Take my sweet time with it. Stir in a little cube of sugar, bring it and hand it to her.
She takes a sip of it. And she says, "This is quite the little world you have here, you and your fellows."
Yeah, I keep to myself. I do just fine.
We just couldn't help but notice that this planet, this beautiful little world of yours, was, well, unowned.
Hmm.
Found that quite peculiar, pretty sure that would be a thorn in your side, so to speak. And she pulls out from this case these files. And She turns it over for you to see, and it's the deed to the planet. It was on a pretty good deal. Sometimes we just can't help ourselves. Dr. Knox.
A good deal? There's no resources here. There's no cities. What would you want with this place?
Well, what we want with it. It is a pitiful thing in the grand scheme of all things. But we thought it may be a nice gesture to offer it to transfer ownership to your commune. Stop having buzzards flying over your head. And we would just simply ask for an extended, confidential consultation with you, Dr. Knox.
Okay. A consultation. Are you seeking to employ me? I'm not sure where you're getting
On a
with.
temporary basis.
Okay. Uh, what what expertise do I have that the corporate would be interested in?
It's highly confidential, Dr. Knox.
Hmm.
Now, of course, if you are uninterested in our little offer, as she looks over to the two by the door, Gaia hates squatters on their property. And she takes another sip of your tea.
All right, for how long?
We don't anticipate this taking longer than 6 months.
6 months. All right.
At
And
the
then,
far extreme.
okay, and then you hand the deed over to the community and wipe your hands.
That is the idea, Dr. Knox.
Well, all right. Sure. You have my cooperation.
Wonderful. As my phone alarm trying to tell me something. This should be off. My apologies. Right. From the sitting room where Dr. Knox has just agreed, we are going to travel to meet bioneticist and Abner Wiggins. Where are you situated, Abner?
Um, in a secluded laboratory. I would be in the middle of a surgery on a chimpanzee, like an artificial vat-grown chimpanzee. Um, you can see me holding just this unidentifiable, fleshy, metallic organ in one hand, and going to insert it into this animal. Around the room, you'd see images of just alien creatures and some schematics, anatomical drawings on various screens.
And as you're focused on your work, you hear an unfamiliar voice kind of say from behind you, I do hope we're not disturbing you at a delicate time.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop the heart onto or the organ onto the ground. Jesus Christ.
And much like Dr. Knox, you discover you have 3 guests. 2 of them faceless, heavily armed, and one of them a woman dressed all in white.
What? How did you get in here?
Well, we didn't find anybody outside, so we let ourselves in. I'm a representative of Gaia Research Group.
Okay.
Is anything the matter?
I've just never worked with you before. What can I help you with?
We have taken some interest in your work here.
Okay, what kind of interest?
Quite fascinating, the lines of research. You're interested in the combination of xenobiology and cybernetics. You have a creative mind, a drive for discovery, and the sense to get things done despite what others might think.
And this means to you?
She pulls open a case and she passes over a contract. We'd like to hire you, Abner Wiggins.
Would you? I'd take a look over the contract really quick, see if there's anything. What can I see of?
It's very long. It's full of legalese. You assume in some way that they want ownership over your current research. But the payment, you look at that number, it's astronomical. It's, one might even say, ludicrous.
So what exactly would I be doing here? What
I'm
do you need
afraid
me to
that's
do?
for employees only. And she holds out a pen.
Gonna look down at the just this open body. Look back over to her, the pen, the faceless people. Reach out and grab it. And I think you may have yourself a deal. And I'm gonna
Wonderful.
go ahead and sign.
If you would come with us.
I just leave the chimp on the table.
And now we go to Dr. Abernathy Snow.
I do most of my writing in a state of lucid dreaming. I have a macro that allows my toes to transcribe the more thoughts that rise above a certain line on the machines that monitor my neural activity. And I'm in a stable, rapidly rotating orbit around the home system's planet Jupiter, being almost always unconscious, is extremely efficient for managing the majority of my glucose serves thought processes. And the artificial gravity of the rotation allows my body to stay more or less in sound state. When I finish a work or a couple of works and want to consciously analyze them, I emerge from the lucid dreaming state that's machine assisted and go over things that way.
And so as you are in this lucid dream state, you feel the systems that kind of monitor you start sending those wake signals.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
Not
at least
scheduled.
a month early. Yeah, odd. And the twitches that are permitted allow me to flip a couple of indicators of willingness. I probably get a bit of extra glucose and caffeine and take my face out of the goo and turn on the sensors to see what's interrupted things.
The sensors have picked up a craft that's requesting to dock.
Oh, and that craft is sleek, expensive, and marked as Gaia.
It's Gaia.
Well, then there's no naysaying that. Suppose there's a. I wonder if. Okay. I'll open a voice channel to the device. Would the representatives rather I join them, or would they like to come on to my satellite?
Whichever is more comfortable for you, Dr. Snow.
I think I think I'll if you can afford a few moments, I'll clean up and board you. I will probably need a period of adjustment regardless.
Of course.
So sozzle off the weird goop and change, and remove the catheters and whatnot and transfer to the Gaia vessel.
So you transfer over, and like the others, you're met with this trio.
Is she notorious in the?
So you being part of the solar system, yeah, there's rumors. Is this clones of this woman that they send out? Is she android? There seems to be so many copies of her.
And she has a position that is not to be gainsaid. She's worth a few solar systems.
Yeah.
Why would a humble analyst like myself be of interest to you, Ms. Mur?
I'm a representative of Gaia.
Right.
I speak for the company. So if you would like to address me, you can simply say Gaia.
Very well. What could Gaia possibly want from a humble analyst like myself?
Your particular branch of interest is highly desirable for a current Gaia initiative.
That's unusual. Self-ontology is usually considered rather extraneous to the movings of interplanetary capital.
Yes, but of course that wide belief held by many is why they are below us, Dr. Snow.
I assume there's something to sign.
Yeah, and she passes over papers.
There's no way I have the capacity to read even a percentage of this document, so I'll just sign.
Wonderful.
Is there much travel involved?
First to Earth, then to elsewhere.
Contract period?
Up to 6 months.
Oh. I thought it was my soul. Very good.
No, we would never ask something like that of a person on such short notice. If it exists, of course, the soul.
That is one of the questions, after all. That is one of the questions. Oh, I'm going to feel very heavy on Earth.
Many do. We have pills to ease the transition if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, how long will what that take these days?
Well, from here at Jupiter, back to Earth, we should be there in just a few hours.
Yeah, I'll need some potassium, but otherwise I should be all right. I'll just stretch.
Of course, we need to wait for the others to join us.
Oh,
So you have
it's
a
a
bit
team.
of time. Yes.
Who else is involved?
You'll meet them shortly. I've got word that their shuttles have just jumped into the system.
And from Earth, we're traveling far, I assume?
That is a correct assumption.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm actually, if we're waiting for others, I'll close out my notes and shut a few things down and water the petunias before we part.
So, Dr. Knox and Wiggins, you're these ships that came to collect you have just arrived at Earth. Knox, you've been traveling for about a month now. Wiggins will say 2 weeks. Takes time, after all, to get anywhere in the great emptiness that is space. After a few hours, you are joined by a third ship from Jupiter. And the three of you arrive at Earth, at the New York spaceport. The three of you, have any of you been to Earth before?
No.
I've done a couple of field trips. My people came from the former Mars colony that is now a crater. But my research has brought me back to Earth a couple of times. There are still some cetaceans that are quite interesting. I don't know that I've been in a city for any length of time. The air is not nice.
And so the three of you are gathered together in a smaller hovercraft. And again, now there are three of these Gaia representatives with you.
Three of the same nice lady.
Mm-hmm.
Have we? I don't know what the 4027 research and academic community is like. Have we seen each other's names in journals? Do we have air dose numbers?
Dr. Snow and Dr. Knox, you have probably read each other's work to some extent. Wiggins' emphasis in cybernetics falls somewhat out of band with the two of you. But you may have come across Wiggins, and likewise Wiggins, you may have come across their names as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Snow, it's an honor. It's researching what other kind of creatures out there have the same kind of brain capacity as us, correct?
The capacity for sentience and cognition, and the correlations, if any.
Yeah, fascinating.
You've done some
work.
You've done some very good work. I assume that your guy didn't tell you anything either.
No. I mean, I was concerned. I know there's been more than one potential career employee that's read my work and thought otherwise, and I didn't think that I was in too high regard in the corporate world.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I have a special need. Sorry. Yes, Wiggins?
And what exactly kind of work is that, Dr. Knox?
I deal in philosophy. Fulfillment in life. Because people need to work. Accomplishing things is good for them, but being grinded into dust and breaking their bodies is not.
Yes, I see. I'm into cybernetics, biology, things like that.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know anything about that. Do you do surgeries?
You could say so. Yes.
Wow. That's a delicate hand.
Takes time.
Ophthalmologist, geneticist, biotechnician.
Yeah, we're a group of oddballs. I don't have no idea what they want us for.
Yes, I'm wondering if there isn't a xenocommunication issue involved, but you'd think there'd be somebody who had a greater specific interest in linguistics than I have. If that were the case.
I've I've read some interesting thoughts on xenophilosophy. That's a niche object, kind of hard to get your hands on.
I'm just having a difficult time figuring out what exactly they can need. Yeah, exactly. The three of us for it's very different.
Mm.
And as
Luckily,
you're
they're
having
pocket.
this,
Go ahead, Liz.
yeah, just as you're having this conversation, you are moving closer to these titanic spires that tower over the rest of the city with the Gaia Research Group logo on them all.
Gaia. Or
Yes, three voices
now that-
respond in unison.
That's a question in its own right. Do the three of you simultaneously experience each other's days? Or do you have to catch up when you're together?
That information is outside of your purview.
You're very proprietary. Now that we have signed contracts, and I assume quite binding NDAs, are you prepared to tell us more about our destination or responsibilities?
Yes, but there are others who have requested the privilege of the explanation.
Very well.
What if we say please and promise we won't tell anyone? It would fascinate me to know how you three think.
Well, perhaps we could work out another contract.
Oh, all the paperwork, of course.
And how many spares of you are there?
Spares.
How many grains of sand on the shore, Wiggins?
Ominous.
Very.
So this craft eventually lands on a spire that, while massive relative to everything else, is somewhat stunted as compared to the rest of these spires, but it's cleared at the top, and that's where you land. And from there, the three Gaias lead you down across a glass bridge that connects you to this main Titanic spire. And the three of you are brought into this rather lavish sitting room. There's a variety of chairs, tables, these movable screens. Please sit. Your questions will be answered shortly.
Great, thank you.
If there's anything you need, just ask.
And are we still like with guards, or are we alone?
You're left alone.
All right. Well, so have they rope you guys into it? They have something over you guys? Are they bribing? What's so I came here willingly, but just so they're kind of holding my community hostage.
Well, the amount of money that they offered me, I could, quite frankly, I could restart my research. I can. So much can be done with this.
Oh, so you're actually profiting off of this. That's good for you.
Yeah, I suppose I am.
Yes, I as well. I also, Scuttlebutt suggested that there was no point particularly in arguing with a representative of the Gaia Corporation within the solar system at least, their reach is more or less absolute. But the remuneration is quite generous. I don't know that they have a full understanding of what fiscal matters mean under the level of star system domination.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're extracting very thoroughly, but 6 months is not very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they hold quite a number of secrets, so there might actually be something of genuine interest in this endeavor.
Yes,
That's my hope.
That is exactly what I'm hoping as well.
It would be very nice if this proved to be insightful. If we walked away with an opportunity instead of just, I mean, I didn't even know what I didn't think I was on good terms with any corporation. I haven't published in years after the backlash for some of my work.
Yes, I thought there was something I associated with your name that I couldn't put my finger on. It's difficult to argue against resource extraction in this climate.
Yeah, I think the way the media labeled it was bohemian artistic parasites that I was raising. It's a funny term that stuck with me. Just telling
Bohemian
people that.
artistic parasites.
Oh yes, yes. Don't go, play in the grass sometimes. Don't just work yourself to death. That's a radical thought nowadays.
Well, what is work if you cannot enjoy it?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Give yourself.
I was as far away as you could get, just keeping to myself. No idea why they sought after me.
All right, we'll leave the three of you for now and go back many, many floors above you. As Dr. Cynthia Freeman turns to Gemini 0 and Gemini 1. Are the two of you ready?
Yes, I'm quite eager to meet these other humans.
Yes, I am quite ready as well.
Yes, then please. And she leads the two of you into an elevator. And you go down and down and down and down and down. Eventually you stop. And the two of you are led by Dr. Cynthia Freeman into this room where there are these three men seated.
Stand slightly behind, not behind, but with Dr. Freeman just ahead of us.
So,
Gentlemen,
Cynthia Freeman,
welcome to Gaia.
Thank you. Cynthia Freeman is the same woman who's approached each of us, or the same morphology?
No, she's different.
Okay. But she's flanked by two identical humanoids.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we had three of Gaia lady, and now, okay.
I'd just like to introduce you to the two last members of your team. Gemini 0.
I am very happy to make your acquaintance.
Gemini 1.
Likewise.
Yes, this is a very pleasurable event. Very nice to meet you.
You as well.
Feel free to join them, Gemini 0, Gemini 1. And as you start to walk in, she hugs you both.
Us both?
And yeah. She first hugs Gemini 0. And again whispers in your ear. You'll do great things.
Thank you for your confidence in me, Doctor.
And then she hugs Gemini 1, but doesn't say anything, doesn't whisper anything to Gemini 1. And then she leaves.
She
Dr.
leaves.
Snow.
Yes, she leaves.
Yes. Should I call you 0? Do you
You
have
may call me 0. That is
Very well.
acceptable. I must apologize. My inception date was just this morning. I am still metabolizing my emotional paradigm circuits. Um, if I seem a little stiff, I am sorry. Um, I am very glad to meet you. I have downloaded all of the current information on all the three of you. Dr. Knox, I should like to ask you a question, if that's all right.
Yes, please. And happy birthday. Congratulations.
Thank you. How do you deal with your eventual obsolescence?
Oh man, every single person does it differently. Uh, some drink, most just pretend it's not going to happen.
Thank you.
Is it different for you, Zero? I mean, obviously the drinking part is.
I am currently the most advanced android that exists, but I realize that at some point in the future, I will no longer be so, and they will have a more advanced model. I will then simply go into perhaps less important positions, and eventually I'll be turned off.
Do you know what the Gaia Corporation has hired us for?
I have not. Have I been informed? I mean, I probably have been informed, but I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say. I'm talking with the GM.
You have been informed. They've been hired to sort out an issue that has arisen in the archive project.
So can I say that?
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
From what I understand it, you are aware that all human research, all human experience is being archived. Every letter of every document has been archived. There are currently two of the oldest archives, Adam and Eve. Adam is archive 0300598463, and Eve is archive 84039048112. There seems to be a problem with archive Eve, and I believe that we are being sent to investigate. These archives have been functioning for over 1,000 years, and the information within them is absolutely vital and valuable.
Well,
I believe we are supposed
I've
to
heard of these
identify
projects. I know an archive, but Adam and Eve, they've been named. Are
They are
they alive?
simply because they were the first two.
Yeah, okay. But I mean we've just been puzzling over our specialities and why we've been brought in here. Have they developed sentience with their amassed knowledge? Like what? This is
I don't
strange.
know.
This you don't know.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah. Well,
the last message from Eve was that Eve is taken sick,
taken
which is
Sick.
perhaps an odd way of putting it, but
yeah.
we're going to go there,
'Cause-
investigate, and figure out what's going wrong and make sure that she gets fixed.
Yeah, there's glitches and corruption, but sickness? It's very strange.
It may be a sentimental over view that was added by those who are currently working on her.
Interesting.
And this is for the warden. We know, or would I know, be familiar with just the archive system in general? Is it common knowledge?
You've heard of the Gaia archives. People have referred to working with the Gaia archives. The NDA around them means publicly there's not really much known about what exactly they are, where they are. It's any consultation with the Gaia archive is a rather expensive and laborious application process.
So
Adam and Eve, rumor has it, are substantial satellites orbiting an exoplanet.
That is correct.
Do
They have
they
their own satellites. Impressive.
do they have a is there a Gaia staff that maintains them usually?
And at this point, you hear a voice from behind the two androids. Just this very, just crystal clear, sharp, commanding voice. It says, as a matter of fact, there are Gaia staff members there. And entering the room, again, you see a number of these faceless, armored individuals. And they're flanking 3 people that walk in. 2 of them you don't recognize, but one of them, all of you definitely do. The person who just spoke's name is Frederick Reese, current CEO and chairman of Gaia Research Group. He looks to be a man in his late 50s, but you all know that he has to be at this point at least over 500 years old.
And remarkably powerful and important and scary, I'm assuming.
Very emphasis on that last part. He walks in and he seems to place a hand on Gemini Zero's shoulder for a brief moment. Continues to walk forward.
This seems like a remarkably important matter that you've brought us in for 2 newborns and 3 outsiders to your company. Mr. Reese, I believe?
Yes. The peculiarities. The current difficulties being experienced at Eve, as they call it, are rather unique. We have not seen them before. They are not well understood. To that end, it is of utmost importance to get it back to operational status. Given the unknowns and likelihoods, although no certainties, any of your skill sets could be key in resolving this matter. And as you might expect, we don't keep people with your particular areas of expertise on staff.
Yeah, but for our expertise, are you expecting us to engage in a debate with the satellite? Why not have computer scientists or engineers?
The archives are far more complex than what merely a computer scientist could accomplish, or an engineer could accomplish. And yet their existence is different enough that simply sending a sophentologist or a philosopher to examine, or a bioneticist to assess health, it's not holistic enough. They're deeply, deeply complex things, the archives. But we have faith.
So is it an artificial neural network? Is it something that transcends code? It doesn't have some kind of programming?
Code. The archives, Dr. Knox, do not run off of computer code. They are not like our children, Gemini 0 and Gemini 1 here.
What are they like?
Vast, deep, enigmatic. Some might even have used the term schizophrenic.
Jupiter brains.
Greater than us.
Depends on your view of the world, Dr. Knox.
Mysteries, you entered on the line that there was a human staff operating the Adam and Eve archives. Are they unavailable? Have they suffered some adverse circumstance?
The head archivist of Eve, Dr. Beck, has not sent a communication since he told us that he was taken sick. The head archivist on Adam, Dr. Holliday, has also reported not hearing anything from Dr. Beck in some time. She said that they are monitoring the situation as best as they can.
Dr. Reese, is it possible to transfer the archive into a more modern archive?
I'm afraid zero. That is a brilliant concept. It is beyond our capabilities.
Have we lost the technology that created Adam and Eve in the first place?
Or have they simply evolved past the point that we understand them in a way that could be translated into another medium?
That's
and
a
you hear somebody
question.
One of the people who walked in with Dr. Reese chirps up at that statement. Yes, we believe that is the case. And Reese kind of glaringly turns and looks at her and says, "This is Victoria Watts, Senior Vice President of Archival Management." And Dr. Howard Smith, Senior Vice President of Research, is with her. The two of them should be able to take this meeting from here. And they just kind of give grave nods. And then Reese looks back at all of you and says, "Faith only goes so far. As they say, faith without works is dead." Make sure that you do go forth and do good works.
We're being paid amply to do so. Where are we going?
You are being sent to Eden.
I suppose that stands to reason.
Meet the gardeners. And he, flanked by 4 of these soldiers, he leaves.
Are we all alone again?
Wow.
No, you have the 2 other executives are still in the room. But you see that it's very obvious to tell that they're holding a lot of tension, and as soon as he leaves, they kind of some of that tension goes just a bit.
Smith and Watts, pleasure to meet you. I guess you know all about us.
Yes, and Watts says again, "Yes, I was the one who selected the 3 of you."
Were we numbers 1, 2, and 3, or were we 12, 17, and 34?
If you have to ask, you already know the answer to that.
Or if the head archivist of Eve, this Beck, is not responsive, we were told that Gaia was sending the 5 of us. I assume that's the 5 of us and a security team of 70 of those goons.
We are sending you out on a Gaia cruiser.
With troops.
Troops, a substantial crew. 1 company of our soldiers.
What is the
staff.
anticipated likelihood of physical travail, do you think that there's a rival that's captured Eve or interfered with Eve?
We don't know the full situation. If Dr. Beck has forgotten himself and has done something, as you alluded to, allowed competitor presence on the station or in the system, it needs to be dealt with rather severely.
What is the normal complement of gardeners on Eve? On Eden?
Well, being an archivist is a rather strenuous occupation. There are very few who are up to it. Dr. Holliday and Dr. Beck are the only two human gardeners in Eden. On each of the satellites, however, there are countless androids.
How can they be countless? You can certainly count them.
It's hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Gemini Zero.
And I'm assuming a moving target.
The number of androids is fixed and maintained at a constant number. They have the facilities necessary to replace any losses.
Despite the fact that I am the most advanced android in existence, there are things that androids are simply not capable of. Therefore, who is our leader in this group? Dr. Snow?
Well,
Dr.
whoever takes the leadership
Dr.
has most responsibility.
Evans?
And she says that with as much gravity as she can muster, and kind of looks to where Reese just walked through the door.
I do not want.
Perhaps a general cooperation between the three of you.
The triumvirate is arguably a stable formation for many activities. Three-legged stools don't wobble. However, I'm concerned about the corporate troop component. They'll probably want clear chain of command.
You are not in command of the company.
Is there going to be a Gaia representative on the ship as well? It's not troop?
Yes.
One of the people
One
who
of the
came
Gaias,
to collect
yes.
us?
Yeah.
Yes,
Great.
she
Did
has
they have
final
any-
word over command of the troop complement and crew of the vessel.
Do you have any models that have slightly less
She chuckles at the word
Shark-like.
model.
do they have less shark-like variants that we could have? Somebody with authentic people personality?
Yeah, how about one that plays music?
They are all alike and they are one. Dr. Snow.
Well,
Fascinating.
They also share the same flaw. They aren't capable of everything. That's why they've called you in as experts. I think that even when it comes down to it, we are going to be making decisions as to what to do to revive Eve. They're just there for security. And as a link back to Gaia.
if Watts, other than the report from Beck that Eve was sick, do you have any measurable indications of interruption of data flow from that archive? Or is it not the sort of thing that is referred to frequently, but is sort of long storage, and so you don't know if data is corrupt?
Long storage.
Also very
Archives are there to
expensive.
be consulted. They are rather independent. And it has been a long time since either of these two have been consulted.
Dr. Smith, is
We do not know the extent of the integrity of the data.
or I'm sorry, Dr. Watts. Do we not have any way of keeping track of Eve's vitals from this far away? Do we not monitor
From
these
Earth,
things?
no. From what we understand, Adam is more than capable of monitoring Eve.
It's a closed system to prevent any kind of what they used to call hacking.
I see.
In corporate sabotage, extremist action, and she kind of looks at Knox very pointedly when she says that.
Most of the archives have been built that way since the Wikipedia wars of 3521.
Mm.
So when do we leave?
As soon as possible.
All right, great.
Your chariot awaits you in orbit.
I'm quite excited for this mission.
Happy birthday.
Ah, yes.
Do we have a
Nice.
suite of tools for addressing Adam and Eve as they have been addressed historically? Are there, language systems that have a historical component, or
Dr. Snow, I think of all this company, you might have the easiest time conversing with them.
do they use first person pronouns for themselves?
Sometimes.
Interesting. Right, but I assume that Gaia has prepared a suite of the tools that are appropriate, and Adam will have redundant components. Do we stop and speak with the Adam team first? Is that what the intention is?
That
I
would
would,
make sense to me.
yes, I would think that's a good idea.
Geminis, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Is actually outside of it are Adam and Eve physically like satellites separate, or are they two giant computer systems on a planet, Eden,
They are two separate moons that orbit the same gas giant.
which is Eden? Okay. Yes.
And they're alive, right? So that's what these things are alive, correct?
That's philosophical.
To put it very pointedly, yes,
Biologically, they are alive.
biologically alive.
Are these satellites were they already present, or are these just mounds of flesh and organs and neurons?
Their physical bulk is primarily made up of natural rock that was already there. They have been hollowed out, however, and the biological components are inside.
Interesting.
And they are biological, they're not silicate, they're hydrocarbons, they're organic.
Hydrocarbon.
Wow.
Are they chlorophyll users?
Primarily.
What other fuel is there for something this large?
If, in case of unforeseeable disasters that would eliminate any light as a source of food, they can metabolize the inhabitants of the station. And parts of themselves, if strictly necessary, to continue until chlorophyll sustenance can be resumed.
But presumably, if there were any sort of problem with the central star, Adam would also be in trouble and would have reported such. So it's not like Beck got at because of a cloudy day.
Quite right.
I would
So
think
we don't have any reports of symptoms or anything to go with this sickness. It's like we're not going out to do diagnostics.
From general readings, the planetary core temperature is several degrees higher than Adam.
I do believe we are going out to perform diagnostics.
It's just strange to assemble a team of foreigners to do such a thing, but okay, so Eve's running
I
a
think
fever.
both systems have been self-sufficient for over 1,000 years. So
I think, as it's been explained, Dr. Knox, this is quite a unique circumstance.
Yeah, it's yeah, and I'm in. I'll do whatever I can. I just yeah, I'm blown away by the scale of all of this, meeting a corporate president and all. Wow. Yeah, sure. Let's go see what it's like.
Yes, Mr. Reese is quite a powerful man.
I will keep you company, Dr. Knox. We will discuss philosophy on the voyage. How long will the voyage take?
Well, the voyage from here to the Eden system is about a month.
Yeah, plenty of time. I'll get to know you guys well, 0 and 1. I hope you guys don't mind if I get the names wrong sometimes.
Perhaps we should wear some clothing that distinguishes us.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yes, if you don't mind.
I will synthesize 2 T-shirts. One of them will have the 0, and one of them will have...
Awesome.
Gemini 1, do you have anything to add?
I did have a question, if possible. It was mentioned the archivists are under great stress. What is the nature of that stress?
Yes, it would seem
It's
to be a very
difficult
boring
to
job.
explain it to an android. The primary methodology of communicating with an archive is akin to a deep sleep.
Perhaps that's why Dr. Snow has been brought aboard.
Good. And the general environment of Adam and Eve, is it something that these gentlemen could walk around without any suits, or would they require some sort of external?
Traversal on the exterior of Adam and Eve would require vacuum capable suits. Their atmospheres are very thin. They are very cold.
But there are actually areas within Adam and Eve that are effective habitats for not meaningfully altered Homo sapiens. So do most of the archivists work within Adam and Eve?
That is correct.
Adam doesn't think that it's a communication problem with either Beck or with Eve, though.
We should clarify. Dr. Holiday.
Right. Holiday on Adam.
Matter. Yes.
is not clear about whether it's a communication problem or something more systemically broad.
She's been concerned at the lack of communications and at the rising temperature readings on Eve.
Right.
It's a worrying combination.
Beck, who works on Eve, is identifies as a male human, and
Yes.
Holiday, who works on Adam, identifies as a female human.
Correct.
Perhaps the temperature rise is equivalent to a human fever. Perhaps that's why Dr. Wiggins has been brought in.
There's certainly a possibility. That is very sound reasoning, Gemini Zero.
Well, a fever is to kill an invasive body, isn't it? So
That is correct.
that doesn't bode well for the residents.
No, we wouldn't want one's white blood cells to be killing off the archivists.
From what I understood, there are only two humans, Dr.
Right.
Holiday and Dr.
Beck.
Beck.
Androids
Well,
can probably be attacked by an immune system.
We do have biological components that can be damaged, but they're heavily shielded. So
Is there an immune system? Is it internal?
Yes,
in terms of diagnostic system, sure.
there is all the archives have a functioning immune system.
well,
The androids, which are there, what is actually their function?
Their function is facility maintenance, monitoring, keeping the archives alive, so to speak.
Sweeping the floor.
Or like scrubbing the back?
They do not work directly with the archives in the manner in which humans would. They take care of everything else so that the archivists can focus on facilitating consultations with the archive.
Ah, I see.
So Beck and Holiday work as ancient librarians, in a sense, interfacing the data that the archives have with requests from the corporation and perhaps others.
Yes, others who have contracted out time to consult with an archive.
Do Adam and Eve have specialties in terms of their information historically? Adam, for example, containing a wealth of...
Adam's development was primarily used to build the others.
like the rib.
Eve primarily stores memories, consciousnesses, lifetimes.
Biological consciousnesses? For those in stasis, or
For a variety of purposes.
So would you say that Eve is more human than Adam?
In a matter of speaking.
Oh,
Adam,
yes.
you may find a little more formal, let's say. And she kind of like looks at Gemini 0 and Gemini 1.
How long have Dr. Holiday and Dr. Beck been managing Eve and Adam?
They were both installed. They've both been working there for about the last 30 years.
With no human companionship.
Difficult.
That's correct.
Could drive you
Dr.
mad.
Do we know how
Dr.
often they were
Weisbrot.
supposed to be replaced?
Standard operating procedure, the initial idea was rotating them out every 5 years, giving them time to recuperate in a rotating system.
They did not elect to take vacations every 5 years?
Yes.
Yes, they chose to stay.
That is correct.
And there wasn't no one on the staff determined that they should be relieved against their will because that attachment seemed unusual.
When an attempt was made for mandatory replacement, the archives were unresponsive. Our hands are, in a sense, tied to Dr. Holliday and Dr. Beck at present.
How long ago was that first resistance?
25 years ago?
The very first time.
I calculate an 86.3% chance that we will encounter hostility if, in fact, Dr. Beck is still alive.
That's
Is
a
there
very
any
precise
monitoring
guess.
on the humans as to their vital signs? Do they have a chip installed?
We cannot monitor their vitals from here.
It may be that Dr. Beck has died.
That is a possibility.
It's almost a
We
best
can't
case scenario.
we can't rule anything out at this point.
It seems to me that their obsolescence has already passed. Perhaps both archivists need to be replaced, but we can't determine that until we get there.
If it were the case that either Beck or Holiday have already passed away, or there's going to be a violent insurrection and they do not survive, are there replacement archivists the company has prepared? I don't think any of us are in a position to replace Beck or Holiday as archivists.
Yeah, they'd really miss that
Yes,
promise of 6 months if that was the
Should
goal.
such an event occur, placements will be sent.
I'm sure both systems can sustain themselves for long periods of time without an actual archivist.
I suspect it's the systems themselves are quite independent. The archivists are for interaction with the data they contain.
And the maintenance being done by other synths.
Well, do the archivists also serve as caretakers?
Oh, that is the responsibility of the androids.
Okay.
The androids take care of them. The archivists speak with them.
And they're too vast and too complex to have good redundancy, but are there... I'm curious, in an evolving living system, like a satellite that is a memory, there should be checkpoints to see that their memories are stable. So a subset of information could be periodically taken out and tested against the memory that the satellite contains. Otherwise, if they start dreaming, they could change their own memory and history.
Dr. Reese seemed to indicate
That's why
to us that
that's why we make them in pairs. They can keep an eye on each other.
Dr. Reese seemed to indicate that we don't precisely know how they were created in the first place, that being well over 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, probably they are the ones that
The
remember.
one who would be best to consult about such technical matters of their functionality would be best addressed to Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I said the phrase greater than us back then. It's in a way we're going to commune with this godlike being that no one understands anymore.
The General Operations Director, GOD.
Yeah, that's suiting.
Interesting choice. We can understand that their minds, if we can call them minds, are much larger than human capacity.
Well, it's comparing a human to an ant, us to a moon, right?
Yes. As I said, Jupiter brain. Jupiter brain is
Yeah,
the
quite
concept
literally.
proposed that what's the largest size computer you could build where the electrical function of it would be not would not be hindered by the speed of light. You could make a computer the size of Jupiter, but beyond that, it would have lag time, and it's an interesting concept. I would like to see this. I'd like to see these archives.
As would I.
It's
How
frightening in a
long
way.
during our 6-month journey will we have regular contact with you, Misters Watson Smith?
We will be checking in about once every Earth week.
Well,
Communications delays.
I no longer have any questions.
I've got one. Is there evidence of other archives having gotten sick before?
No.
No. Okay.
And who coined the term to use sickness specifically?
Dr. Beck.
Presumably Dr. Beck.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's okay. Yeah. It's just such a connotation to the word. It's strange.
If there are biological components to the entire system, then perhaps sick is not an inappropriate word.
Yeah, it's beyond me.
And
generally
infection.
speaking, though, the vacuum of space doesn't carry a whole lot of virus or bacteria in a meaningful sense.
Computers are subject to different kinds of viruses.
Famously.
Most notorious one being Ridley's maze, which darn near destroyed the entire Earth economy at one point.
Yeah, but if a computer gets a virus, would you call that a sickness? It's just a strange line to cross.
We called it a virus.
Yeah, it's
How
a similar
many
concept for sure.
archives does Gaia maintain currently?
There are 12 of them.
12. With Adam and Eve being the oldest, and therefore if this is either a contagion or a developmental eventuality, needs to be solved before the others go corrupt.
That is correct.
Yeah. Well, and if we're going to Adam first to connect with it, then we might be opening the bridge to that corruption.
I think that it's a good
done our
idea.
risk assessments, Dr. Knox. Wish for you to proceed. That's why you've been gathered here.
If I may, it does make sense to go visit Adam first. Then we can see what a correctly functioning archive looks like before we go to Eve and see what a malfunctioning archive looks like.
You are new, Zero. I must point out that you presume that because of the information we have, which is limited, that Adam is functioning, whereas in fact it might also be malfunctioning. In fact, it might be reporting inaccurately on Eve's malfunctioning. There are causality problems that must be considered.
That is true. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Though I calculate that it's only a 2.5% chance.
Given the communication problems, I think that your assessment is probably very sound.
The one thing that disturbs me in this whole is the relationship between the archivists and the archives themselves. Humans don't usually do very well in isolation.
No,
I don't
it's a difficult thing.
believe that these humans are in isolation. They've got Adam and Eve keeping them company.
Yeah, if they have lifetimes of memories to access, that's practically the same as having friends.
Perhaps. Human
Or
relationships in the best of circumstances don't last very long. So usually, perhaps 25 years is a lot.
30 years is quite substantial, but it might be more of a condition of worship than relationship.
Yeah, back to the God complex again.
It's a concern, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we can discuss all of this on the way.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, my specialty is in asking questions, so I'm not trying to cause trouble with it. I'm just not the kind to really jump to conclusions. I'll leave that to you fellows.
Mr. Smith and Watts, I assume that this room is thoroughly surveilled.
Of course.
I'm going to flash a crypto key if you want to share information that you think might be helpful, but you can't express openly in this condition.
Dr. Watts smiles. Will that be all, gentlemen?
Yes, when do we depart?
Go to space.
I hope you'll see us off.
And
When-
so you,
when do we?
yeah, as soon as possible.
Am I
Which means
flying
after
the
what-
ship? Or am I just capable of flying the ship?
There will be people to fly the ship.
Okay.
There'll be a Gaia representative and a bunch of screen-faced goons. And before we leave New York, one night of hot karaoke.
Mandatory.
Mandatory.
Nice.
Dr. Knox, I've wondered something for my entire life. What do you think of dubito ergo cogito ergo sum?
Oh, excuse me. What did you say?
I said that for my entire life, I have been wondering about a phrase by Descartes, dubito ergo cogito ergo sum. What do you think? And that's
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
I think, therefore I am. I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am.
Yes. I mean, the way I see it, there's plenty of things that exist that don't think. So it seems that they're the exception to that rule.
Onwards, I guess.
So, the five of you are shuttled up to a Gaia, basically military cruiser. It has the capabilities of nuking planets into radioactive glass.
I hope it has a comfortable attached pod for the five of us, not military quarters.
There are executive suites on Gaia vessels.
Fancy.
So you all have quite lavish living spaces kind of along the top spine of this rather large and intimidating vessel. And as you're all brought there, Dr. Snow, a moment. It's Dr. Watts.
My pleasure.
Like, I just want to wish you luck. And she goes to shake your hand.
Uh-huh.
And she passes something to you.
Thank you for the well wishes. I look forward to seeing you upon our successful return. And I'm going to think of the place that's least surveilled to see what she gave me. Probably there's a way to
Space toilet.
take stuff into the shower specifically because there's fog available as well as noise.
Yep. So you do that, and the message that she's given you says, I have interacted with Adam and Eve personally. She says, highly unstable entities, highly dangerous. Their dreams are not as unreal as one would like.
Gosh, I'll have to send her a little fruit basket with a spider inside to thank her for that comforting and informative message. But it's good warning. I'll look for opportunities to share that with the humans over the course of the journey as we get to know each other. I don't know that I'll share it with the androids as of yet, because I'm sort of assuming that they are, willingly or not, reporting directly to the corporation.
Yeah. Well, familiarizing ourselves with our quarters here, do we have the illusion of privacy at all? Is there any kind of like lounge for us to sit in that isn't pointed at the camera?
The illusion of privacy is well intact.
Okay. So
Elaborate smoke and mirrors. It looks like very lavish lounge. There are androids there that are flight attendant wait staff types.
Definitely, especially with Knox, because he's got a little reputation, and also, I guess, sort of more testingly with Wiggins. Like when we're drinking our synthahol, from the Whoopi Goldberg bot, I'll definitely make some snarky comments about Gaia to get a sense of like how much, whether two goons show up as soon as you say something problematic or how that goes. I'd like to get a sense of our tether while we're aboard without, being ejected or having my contract canceled.
So you insinuate some moral positions which do not favor Gaia well. And maybe about 45 seconds later, one of the attendant androids walks over and asks if you need anything.
Mm-hmm.
Came back probably, a little sooner than the last time it came around.
I'd love some more of those tiny salinated tofu bits.
Yeah, those are great. Please.
Tasty.
And then it starts asking just down the line, like, do you want anything? Do you want anything? It seems to linger just ever so slightly longer before it leaves.
No, thank you.
Good to know where we stand, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's no escaping it.
We are in their territory very thoroughly.
Hmm.
I'm
The moment they landed on my lawn, I knew this was very possibly the end of me, and I've been trying to come to terms with that and just hope for the best.
I still assume that it's a holographic universe and therefore there is no either beginning or end of me.
You two are a little too abstract for me.
Yeah, sorry, just there's the possibility of working to a optimistic conclusion, but there's just an overwhelming amount of evidence of depression in the world. Yeah, it's but yeah, Dr. Snow, it's you you do it with lucid dreaming, huh? That's wild stuff. Do you ever struggle to tell whether you're really awake or not? Are you just waiting to wake up in your lab at any moment here?
There are a couple of um, fairly reliable physical tells, but the membrane can be slippery. I often find that if I want to test that I'm awake, all I have to do is some math. I've never been able to do math while I was asleep.
Huh, that's incredible.
So
That's yeah, the equipment that you use is amazing. I would love to be able to test with it. It sounds fun.
I'd be happy to seat you into a chair and let you go for a spin. It is not everyone is productive. A lot of people sort of fly around their childhoods, but I can think a little more abstractly when I don't feel gravity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. If we ever see our freedoms again, I would love to.
In 6 months, we'll either be uh, drones dead or wealthier than we expected. So
Yeah.
it's interesting in its own
Well,
right.
I mean, I'm not seeking to gain too much out of this. They were kind of exploitative. They were threatening to evict my colony. And I know opinions of me in the corporate world are bad. There's been acts of terrorism that people were inspired by my work. I just put my ideas out there. I'm not given any instructions.
That's one of those coinages that is very useful for authoritative figures and complicated to address in real terms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've lived a quiet life, and I thought that I'd see the end of the trouble. I haven't done anything to seek being hunted down. So yeah, I'm just hoping that they actually want me here and that they're not trying to get rid of me in their obscure, meandering corporate labyrinth.
Now, Gaia wants us to do something or they would not have any trouble otherwise quieting us. And they
Yeah.
must be scared or they wouldn't send out freaks like us, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the nerves have been hitting me for sure, but yeah, you're right. They wouldn't go through so much trouble.
I
I enter
wonder,
the room.
yes, Geminis, you probably go around together a lot, having the same interests.
We both have independent subroutines, but
I
gentlemen, I came to see you particularly. We've been here now only for a few days, and we have quite a while to go. I've been studying the nature of humans and the things they sort of think. I thought perhaps you would like one of these. And I hand you a signal scrambler. It seems like you would like to perhaps have private conversations, and you are being monitored. As
I
long as you
appreciate
are
the
within
gesture.
4 or 5 feet of this, you won't be able to be monitored by the ship.
You Yeah, that would be comforting, but I don't think that Gaia would be too happy with us using such a device.
Let's not worry about that for now.
Where
I'm
else
not
did he get it?
Yeah.
This is a
Huh.
military ship. Such things are easy to come by.
Yeah, well,
As I say, we have independent subroutines. Therefore, I feel that you must be comfortable if you're going to do your job correctly, and you are humans who value privacy.
Yes, I think it's a very warm gesture, Zero. Thank you.
If you wish to
Yes.
continue your private conversation, I'll leave.
Not at all.
no,
I was
actually, yeah, we would love to talk to you.
I wondered if you had an assessment, given that your experience has multiplied manyfold since we first met you, why Gaia Corporation chose the two of you who are so inexperienced in temporarily while being very advanced technologically. Or
Well, you're born with experience. Am I right in believing that? You have memories, information, knowledge, skills, day one.
Yes, you could say that it's the equivalent of your instinct.
Yeah, yeah. So you really have a leg up from the get-go.
So the experience actually starts once we're turned on. Other than that, it's we function. I can fly any ship by instinct.
Yeah, and I can't. Nowhere
But
near.
since then, my knowledge it does accumulate. And forgive me, I do observe you a lot. I'm very interested in humans.
Yeah. Is Sorry, go ahead.
I assume we've also been doing research into the history of the archives. Do you know anything else about?
There's very little of it. I imagine that if we had a full schematic of the archives and everything, they wouldn't have chosen you. They would have simply sent a repair team. It seems a far more complicated issue, since they're sending a dream specialist and a philosopher and somebody who can understand the neural network of brains.
Well, I mean, my understanding, Dr. Snow, is besides dreams, your specialty is in non-human intelligence, and that's precisely what we're going towards.
I mean, of course, largely theoretical. We have a limited degree of experience with xenoforms.
Yeah.
But the ideas of man-made human and other intelligences is what I contemplate and write on. Again, the cetacean uprising of the early 21st century is quite interesting. When does a complex sea mammal start attacking a dominant species that's destroying its habitat? And how do they communicate that when they don't have the linguistic signals that simian or primate life does? That sort of thing. It exists all over the universe that we know. Very, very good, Zero.
Yes.
Did I do that right?
Yeah,
Spread is very complex.
That's classified as a joke in the category of dad.
Well, so Zero, do you have a way of easily communicating with your twin?
No.
No.
Ever since they don't allow intercommunication. We're treated like humans. We're treated like people. You can't communicate with each other, so we're not allowed to communicate with each other in any.
Well, they can't give you a pager or something. You don't have any kind of device.
Oh well, we got our watches or whatever we have, communication devices.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I feel like we should invite him in for a drink as well. But something that's been on my mind is you had mentioned multiple times that you're the best, smartest that's ever been created. Does that include him as well?
Yes. So well, I was the first and he's the second.
Okay, but
I am his dad.
Wow. So you're not twins.
Biologically.
Okay.
Not biologically, but I am his predecessor. So his elder twin.
But
if you want,
there
I
is
can go fetch
superiority. Him. You're on a level above him.
We're identical.
Okay. You're both the best. I understand.
I have 25.3 seconds more experience than he does. Though he doesn't seem to ask as many questions as I do.
Yes, I certainly do more listening and trying to understand the situation. Just a variance in the programming.
But if at any time you feel uncomfortable around us, just tell us to leave.
Yes, please.
Great. I'll use that if I need to. But yeah, listening and asking questions, that's how you learn.
There is a subject I wish to bring up. However, I'm afraid that it might upset you.
I'll let you know if it does.
It seems to me there's a fairly high chance that you have been chosen for this mission because you are expendable.
Yes, I thought that from the start.
Are you applying?
I will do my best to protect you if necessary.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Dr. Wiggins.
Not only expendable, I thought a target.
I was just going to ask if you thought that we were all expendable.
Well, as I said, if they knew what they were doing with the archives, they would have sent a team of experts, engineers. They wouldn't have sent you in this case because they don't know and there is some danger involved. They've picked independent people who have a great deal of knowledge about the subject, but they don't want to send their own, except for, of course, Gemini and I.
Yeah. Do you believe that you're expendable as well, or do you think that? Okay, I see.
They can make more of us.
Yeah.
We are the beginning of a long line. They want to see if we're going to perform well. Which theoretically may be to their own detriment. We do have independent thought. So if you're worried about whether we're reporting everything back to Gaia, yes, we are. But if the situation arises as if for anybody else that we need to keep something a secret, we can do that too.
Unless you're programmed to say that.
Yeah. But
now we're at an existential problem.
Exactly.
Again,
I appreciate the gesture for sure. You're more than friendly, and I'm glad to be working with you. But yes, if there is anything insidious in there, you probably wouldn't be aware.
I believe that as I walked through the door, Dr. Snow was mentioning that he thought that perhaps we're all in a holographic universe. That is still a fairly high possibility. We may all be dreaming. Yeah. There's no way to say otherwise.
Oh, and to that end, I wasn't actually referring to the hypothesis that the universe was a generated structure, construct, but that every part of the universe contains the data of every other part of the universe ad infinitum, so that while everything is finite and entropy rules, nothing is ever potentially lost because the entirety contains all of the parts and vice versa. Philosophical, not helpful.
Physical. Yeah. And I probably go into some ridiculously long, complicated physics of black holes and the event horizon and stuff like that, possibly storing all the information for the universe.
Since the death of string theory in 2416, it's been harder to compel some of those arguments, but we don't know. And in fact, the Gaia Corporation itself, as a soft ontologist, is interesting because I believe that corporations are conscious entities.
Yeah,
that exist
abstract
outside
beings,
and traditionally quite evil ones.
Amoral from the standpoint of fleshy life.
Like an amoeba, they gobble up everything around them.
Yeah, it's a structure that rewards negative traits. You get farther.
Such is life.
Mm-hmm. typically.
Anyone want to play chess?
Oh God, no! Against you. Ah,
Yeah, let's see what you can do. I'm no expert.
I'm
I
I'm interested in monitoring any information that comes from Adam and Eve in transit, and any information from Neo New York in transit.
So you wait for that information, and it's basically radio silence until you arrive at Eden. So if there are any other conversations you would like to have in the time it will take you to get there.
Yeah, well, so I definitely want to talk to Snow about the note that he received when we feel like it's a safe and appropriate.
Yeah, I guess we'll, at least one sleep cycle after uh, that conversation with the Geminis, I'm going to test the the frequency jamming communication device that we were given to see if there's an immediate tell that it's a
You
plant.
you turn it on. There's nobody rushes in. Nobody seems to
Nobody offers me a
react
snack.
to it. Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody ominously offers you a snack.
Yeah. So I will certainly blast that to the team. The note that Watts gave.
Yeah.
That they are
Um,
highly unstable.
Adam and Eve are
dangerous.
highly unstable, and their dreams are not reliably unreal. Is that how it was put?
Yeah. So what does
They
I
are
mean,
not
what
as unreal as one would like.
yeah, what that says to me is that they their dreams are capable of becoming real, right? That they are imagining things that are being brought into the universe somehow.
I'm afraid that is the implication. I don't know how literal.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm reading into that wrong, but that's very strange.
Kind of technology could interesting, very interesting.
An intellect that is hundreds of trillions of times larger than ours might be manifesting thoughts in ways that are tangible relatively.
Yeah,
I mean, ecosystems process the world into manifestable reality. Why wouldn't there's an electrical storm when I think about a song that was important to me, but the electrical
yeah.
storm in my head is very small. If I were the size of a satellite, that electrical storm might be rather substantial. Perhaps that's what was implied.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
it means.
Whether it's the physical beings that they're thinking about or just a byproduct. Yeah, either way, creating something by dreaming.
The obvious failure of the Gaia Corporation to remove Holiday and Beck at 5 years, I think is the
Yeah.
starting point for our attempt to assess what's going on here.
I think maybe we should have asked about their predecessors, because if these things are 1,000 years old, then these are relatively recent.
Right. We haven't been hearing back from the corporation, but let's see if we can get, perhaps the Geminis can send a urgent message or 01. Do you have, we're curious about who worked on Adam and Eve before Beck and Holiday. There might be internal records, or you might be able to reach somebody back on Earth, or
we can send it communicate backwards, but at our current speed, it's going to arrive there with a serious attenuation. They might, if they had known the answer to something like that, they might have told us already. They could have given us a downloadable file.
If you look at you have records, Gemini Zero. The last archivists are named Victoria and Virginia Watts.
Wow. Victoria and Virginia Watts. Ancestors?
Or the same.
Her title was chief of...
senior
vice president of archival management.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the records, does it say that she did her 5 years, or was she there longer as well?
The records show a rotation between her and Virginia. Like they were switching in and out.
Okay.
But they were never taking breaks? They were just swapping places?
Like one would come and manage Adam and Eve for 5 years.
And
then another one would come in and manage Adam and Eve for 5 years.
I see.
And
then after Virginia's last rotation, Victoria did not go back, and instead a separate archivist was appointed for them separately instead of one archivist for the both.
So did she not go back because she considered them unstable, or is she slandering them because of some crisis?
Yeah. Well, we could ask her about forming a relationship, like the question of whether it's like a personal attachment or a worship of something greater. But yeah, like what she thinks about being tempted to stay longer than 5 years instead of having the comforts of a break. Oh, yeah, whatever.
I can send those questions.
Maybe a curiosity. Yeah.
Humans don't like to talk about their psychological mental breakdowns very much, but
I do, but yeah, that's what makes me strange.
Yeah, some do more than others. Reese appeared to be middle-aged, but was centuries old. How about Watts?
From the records, Watts seems to be a lot older than she looked.
Since they cured all diseases and they live in environments that have absolutely no bacteria, they live a lot longer.
There may be internal bacteria, things that were introduced when the possibilities are endless.
Absolutely.
So we're going to move forward at this point to your arrival at Eden. And that's where we're going to call it for tonight.
Cool.
Episode 2, Arrival at Eden.
Our players included David Gasaway, Chance Wooten, Kaylin McDowell, and Julian Arba, and myself with Morgan Llewellyn as the warden. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastery. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the strange and terrifying Mothership role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.